hate mud season. I hate it, I hate it, I hate it. We're stuck right here where I drive every day. And, well, this thing doesn't have reverse, so you can't rock the thing properly. So we're getting the truck. We're going to try dragging me backwards. Now look who it is here. We've got the 2005 Chrysler Town & Country, and we've got a few things that we need to do to this van. I think the most important issue is that there is a massive clunking noise in the front end whenever you go over terrain, bumps, whatever. It's clunk, 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 clunk all day long. So we need to get this van jacked up in the air, figure out what the heck happened in the front end that we just went through it mostly, so something's not right. Second, the front right door speaker here decided that it doesn't want to work very well anymore. It's blown. So I went to U-Pull and I picked up that unit right there. So we're going to throw that in it. And then in the effort of chasing that check engine light, that's for a catalytic converter, I've got an O2 sensor right there. I figure we'll give it a shot throwing that on there, right? It's not going to hurt anyway. Otherwise, I think maybe a quick vacuum out, and it's probably about ready to get parked for the summer. Seeing as it is a winter driver, it is now warm out. So we're gonna, put it in storage and bring home one of our other caravans. Probably gray van, because gray van will be the one that'll actually drive. Blue van needs a crank sensor right now because it decided it doesn't work anymore. But, that's aside from the point. So I figure we'll go ahead, we'll get this up in the air, we'll kind of tidy this thing up, get it cleaned up, maybe drive it for a day or so. Just make sure she's good to go, so we can pull it out next year and not have to worry about it, and then we'll be all right. The other thing I'd maybe decide I want to look at is this rust that's forming here. Maybe I just take the grinding disc and sand this down quick and put some primer over it at least, get it kind of cleaned up so it doesn't sit here and just get worse and worse. I mean, it's rust underneath there. I went in over top of it. I mean, I did clean it up a little bit, but obviously not well enough. This side's looking good though. No issues on this side. This is the side I actually tried on, if you can tell. That was the I'm half-assing it side before I figured out what I was doing. Let's get this thing up in the air. Oh, the other super huge important thing that I just forgot about is the fact that it needs a water pump. And to do the water pump, we pretty well got to pull that timing cover off because there's broken bolts in it from the last time when my dad did it 15 years ago. And reseal the engine was kind of my theory, so we'll see how stuck in I get into it. Maybe we'll try tackle that job quick too, Well, I got the van up in the air. This side looks fine. I don't see anything wrong with the passenger side. However, over on the driver's side, I see two things. One, our new strut doesn't look so good. So I get a feeling that's probably where the clunky clunk is coming from. However, when I go front to back on the wheel, hear that? There's some sort of play going on side to side. I haven't decided if it's the tie rod or the rack. Good news, everybody. Well, I popped the tie rod off just to make sure the play wasn't in the rack. And it's not. That's as tight as can be. And then I go to turn the wheel here, or turn the, the hub here to move the strut, just kind of listen to it. And sure enough, that guy has backed off. And not only has that side backed off, the passenger side bottom one has also backed off, going onto the sway bar. So, and that kind of makes sense because you can't get an impact on them. I probably didn't get them as tight as they could have been, and they probably rattled loose. So, we're going to tighten those up for starters, and we're going to see where the play goes. Obviously this strut is leaking, but is it bad yet? I don't know. You know, I'm kind of the let's run it till it really needs to be replaced, at least on this vehicle. All right, well, we got the tires back on. I got both nuts on the tie rods, or not the tie rods, the sway bar links tightened up. Still a little play over here. I mean, I had that tie rod off, and I couldn't feel any play in it itself, so I don't know where that's coming from. It might be the strut yet. Play up in the mount, maybe, is what I feel, but if the clunk is gone, I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm going to take it for a test drive here. We're going to find out. Well, I'll tell you right now, the clunk is gone. Just going over stuff like that. Yeah, she's mint. Those bolts just loosened up. Gravel roads, they'll do stuff like that to you. Have them a little loose. A lot of vibration, they loosen up just a little more. So, well, at least it's fixed for now. It might loosen up again. I cranked on them real good, so should be all right though. So we're not gonna worry about that strut that's definitely leaking. We didn't see that. It's fine. There's nothing wrong there. The rack seems fine. We'll drive it down the road here. It's been a couple weeks since I've actually driven it, aside from just around the yard and stuff. So the brakes actually got rust we want to knock off too. Well, the AC still works. It just kicked on, so that's nice. Nice to see. 326,472 miles. And she's cruising. Yeah, it's 71 degrees outside right now, and what is it? Just the end of March. It's that's pretty nice. Supposed to be even warmer tomorrow, but tomorrow's Monday, so that doesn't mean anything to me. What do you guys figure? Do I dig into it? Do I pull that water pump timing cover out? It's 4 o'clock right now. I got what, 3.5 hours till dark? I call it 3. I could have that whole thing ripped apart, as long as I got all of the gaskets and stuff still. I know I was robbing bits and pieces out of that box of parts I had for this, but I might have everything I need still. Hard to say. I know it needs done, I'll tell you that much. It really needs done. Well, here's the box of parts I dug out. And if you look in there really closely, there's no water pump. Apparently at some point, and I know I'd been raiding this box for parts, I used the water pump on something. So, I ordered up a new water pump, and I also ordered a new oil pan gasket that was also missing, and then I bought a $3 air filter to go with it. So that'll be here by the end of the week or something like that. So, that kind of puts this back on hold-ish again. I mean, we could always start tearing it apart, which I might do. But I think I'm going to pull this door panel off, get that speaker in there quick. It's just a couple of screws. You know, it helps when screws are missing like that and like that. Did I never put the screws back in this door panel? I guess not. Is there even a screw down here? No, there's no screws in it, so I guess it's just clips holding it. So, oh. Man, I guess we'll fix that too while we're in here. Nice. Guess it's just not my day with this van. So here's the old speaker, and if you listen, it's bad. Well, problem is, I got an infinity speaker apparently, or the premium system, which I guess this doesn't have. So I don't know what we want to do about that. I guess I can go see if I've got another speaker that's got the regular plug, because I don't feel like splicing anything today. But yeah, that's a deal. Well, so that speaker I bought, not only was it wrong when I was messing with it, and I checked it at the yard, but I guess I didn't extend it far enough. It was also started making crunchy noises like that. So it was shot too, so I threw it away. But right here is the inner door panel out of the 2008 Dodge Grand Caravan SE that we used to have, that had 448,000 miles when we sold it. Now this door panel is either out of the original door that was on the van, or was out of the door that we got to replace the driver door when it was wrecked. If I remember, I'll insert a picture here of the wreckage and stuff. Anyway, inside that door panel is this beautiful speaker that has the right plug. So that should go in place, and that should work for us. So that van, once again, paying some dividends out today. We'll give that one a shot. And most importantly, this speaker sounds good. It feels good. So let's go ahead and throw that in quick and give it a quick test. Funny how life kind of bites you in the ass sometimes. Here we are again. If you look at the date up here, it's been a couple weeks. I do have all the parts in for this. We're gonna get this thing tore apart. We're gonna get this done today. I think that's my plan. As you can see, got ourselves some fancy new stuff. I got an oil pan, I got a water pump. I don't remember what's in there. Stuff we need, I think, right? See what this says on it. Water pump, oh, about an air filter. Oil pan gasket. I hope I got that timing chain, otherwise I don't remember. Was there a chain? Did we have a chain? Yeah, there's a chain in there. Or was that an oil pump? I think that's what that was. I don't know. I don't remember anymore. It's been another couple weeks, honestly. I don't know that I see a chain at all. Oh, okay, whatever. This one's probably fine then, I guess, right? No, it's probably not. I must have forgot to order that. Whatever. One thing at a time, right? Let's see what we can do. This old girl tore apart. Everything's in the way. It's windy. It's actually not very warm out today. It's going to be warm the entire week, but no, the weekend. Yeah, 40 degrees. Great. So I've done this job, I think, once before on a 4th gen. I think it was Scorpion, the 2002. I think I had this all apart on it. But as far as things that we need to take apart, I think we're going to start getting the airbox out of the way, getting these hoses out of the way. I think we'll get the power steering undone, throttle cables, vacuum lines. Might as well. I mean, I guess we could leave the wires. I'm not too worried about them. I don't think we need to pull any of the coil pack or anything. Then we'll get this intake plenum off. I think we're going to get the lower intake off. We're going to reseal all that too. Deal with all that. Throttle body, get that all removed from the intake itself. Once we get access to all of this down below here, I think it's the alternator. I don't think we need to take the EGR off. I guess we have to take the tube off, don't we? Hopefully I got a gasket for that, because I replaced this 4 or 5 years ago, I think. So yeah, I suppose this has got to come off, so that's all got to come apart. Got to get at the motor mount, but I think before we take the motor mount, we got to pull the oil pan off so we can hold the engine itself up with like a wood block on the block surface. Something like that. We got to kind of set that up some way. So I think that's, we get the oil pan off, got to have this tire off. Then we'll get the motor mount, get the whole belt assembly, alternator itself, yada, yada, yada. I don't think we got to remove the windshield cowling. I'm going to try not to anyway, just because I don't want to go through that. It's been off 10 million times on this van, just like any other. And yeah, I think that's just where we're at. I'll just start ripping things apart here, keep you up to date. And that's what that's going to be. Apparently this right here is supposed to be clipped in on the air box. Apparently there's a, see, there's a little clip for it right there. I guess, I don't know. Well, that air filter was junk, and that's what's in the air box itself. Somebody's stash. This is probably left over from when this van was sitting for a couple of years, when I had it ripped apart and parked. Yeah, that was somebody's dinner. Lovely. I think she's due for a throttle body cleaning. Oh my god. That is on there thick. Yeah, no, there's, yep. Yeah, she's perfect. Running perfect. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's 320 something thousand miles for you, I guess, right? Yeah, we'll get that cleaned up nice. Wow. Well, there she is. Plenum's off. And it looks like, I suppose this is a part of the plenum, so I'll have to remove this. I will have to get that coil pack off of there, get the wires undone from it. I gotta find somewhere to hold this frickin' power steering reservoir up. Wonder, yeah, the way this is looking, could I get a zip tie up somewhere? You see what I'm saying here? Just kind of hold it up. Maybe like a zip tie chain running up to the wiper. That's kind of my thought right there. Get that up out of the way. Because I don't want to unseal this. Mummified Daddy Longleg. Ew. Goodbye. Gotta get this harness unplugged. Or just pull the whole harness off. Probably get it unplugged so it's undone and out of the way anyway. Gotta get this fuel. This is just a quick connect here, so we just pull forward, push back, and boom, it's off. Just like that. Look, fuel. Yum. And it's a quick connect down here too, so it looks like I just twist it up out of the way. Not a problem there anymore. Not too bad though, not too bad. Coming apart easy enough. I did opt for the zip tie chain. That's all working there. Got the coil pack and the little base plate off there. It's a little stuck on there. I think I'm going to anti-seize these studs when I put it back in. But you can see there's a couple bolts there that you can't get at otherwise. And I think where I'm at now is it's time to get the thermostat undone from the intake and drain all the coolant so then we can get the intake itself off. I think I can leave I'm going to leave all the fuel injectors and stuff in the rail. I think I'm going to leave it on it until I get it off of the vehicle and then we'll deal with it. That's kind of my thought anyway. Apparently my rocker panel job was so good it holds water. Started jacking the van up and sure enough it starts dripping water out of it. Huh. The more you know, I guess, huh? Great. That's what I want that to do, hold water. Fluid film coating looks pretty good after this year. That's not bad. There's a bunch of mud up under there too. That's what's sticking off. There's mud. Needs a bath before we put it away too. But yeah, I guess there's water in there. Great. I know it's all fluid film coated, so I bet you it's sitting on top of the fluid film, which is why it couldn't get out. That's kind of my hunch anyway. Anyway, we get the van up in the air. So I wonder where the water's getting in, because I guess it was facing front and down. So I don't know if it's coming in over here somewhere or... I guess I'd probably through here, through the cowling somewhere. I don't know, it doesn't matter. I really don't know why we're going through all this effort. Like that oil pan and that front main, like they don't even leak. So I don't know why I'm doing this. Just kind of firing the parts cannon, I guess, right? Like, there's no oil on that at all. None. Not a drop. Just absolutely perfect. Anyway, so there's that crossover tube I was talking about. Ours is in really good shape. There's no rust on it because, well, it's coated in oil. I remember having to replace this on Scorpion because, well, that van did not have as much of an oil leak, and therefore it did rust really bad from where it was sitting. There's our water pump up there. That's our guy right there. We got to get him out of there. I know getting that pulley and stuff out of there is always a job because of where it is. Water pumps used to be up here on the 2000 and earlier motors. Well, they're not anymore, and they're back there for some reason. I guess it's to make the alternator job easier and the AC job, but, well, now the water pump is a nightmare, but look how nice and sealed that transpan is. That's nice and dry from the last time I did that, so that's not leaking at all. We done did good on that one, but yeah, that oil pan needs to, hell, even the oil filter's leaking. Alright, well, I got the two bolts off for the little coolant bracket there, tube, and I thought I was going to snap that one off. I ended up put some PB through the threads up top, heated that housing up, and I did get it to come out. Really, that just needs a good smack or a wiggle with my hand, and should dump all the coolant out. Hopefully into the pans that I've got cleaned out here. I'm going to try recover it, because well, we did the radiators. Okay, it was a while ago. Maybe it should be flushed. I'm going to recover it anyway, obviously. But I'm looking at this tube here, and that tube's got a dent in it, kind of in the perfect spot for the axle, as if this has hit it. But I don't know how it would have done that, because I think this is all original, as far as I'm aware, but sure, it's got a convenient dent in it right there, doesn't it? I don't know. I don't know what happened there. I got the coolant all drained out, and I'm working on the oil now. And, well, I keep rediscovering that the the socket size on the oil plug is vice grip. And I think this time it finally bit me. I've been fighting this stupid thing for a little while here. And I finally got it to go, and I had to bite on the outer lip of it. We're not putting that back on. I don't care if I got to drive 100 miles to get a plug. That's never going back on there again. It's done its job. All right, got the intake itself off. Definitely pretty oily and everything, you know, as we expect it to be, but you know, got it all off. No troubles at all getting any of the hardware off. I almost forgot, well, I did forget the first time, the heater core hose, so I had to undo that. And here we are. It's starting to look like a traditional old 3.3 liter. Same style heads and everything. What I didn't realize is there isn't a coolant passage flow on this side. They just kind of, or one of the two sides, whatever it was on the intake, it's just kind of a block off. Yeah, the front, facing the front of the motor is just kind of a block off. Interesting. I guess that's just how it's designed. Because I think the older ones, they flow through that and everything, because the thermostat's over here. But yeah, we'll get this cover out of the way. Try not to drop any of that crap down there. And get the valve covers off. I think the PCV valve is in here. Hopefully I got one, otherwise I put it on my list of things to order. Well, there's the valve covers. As you can hear in the background, it's getting windier and windier. Now you want to see something wild? Look at that. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting that. That's 326, 325, whatever it said on the odometer, 1,000 miles. What? I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting it to be that clean. But there it is. There you go. Looks freaking perfect. So, that's awesome, actually. Alright, got the oil pan off. Looks pretty good up under here from what I can see. Not too bad, anyway. As you can see, the reason this all needs to come off, because that's the timing cover right there, the shiny aluminum. So what we need to do is take that oil pickup off of there, and then we're gonna get like a wood block and go in between the sides of the block here, and then we'll be able to jack up the motor so we can take the motor mount off and get this cover off and everything off at the same time. Otherwise, man, no, I mean, everything looks decent. I don't see anything wrong, you know. Shouldn't be. It ran. It drove right to here, but looks clean. For what it is, it's pretty clean. Well, a 2x4 would be preferred, but I've got a 2x6 flip the long way, so that's, I don't know that I'd recommend it, but I'm not concerned about how it's sitting, I guess. Anyway, it's got the motor jacked up, and I've got the motor mount off. It's actually in my hand right here. And it is a genuine Mopar motor mount right there. It didn't feel that bad. It's a little checked. Probably should replace it while a guy's in there. I'll add it to the list of parts that I need to get that I didn't get. And if they've got it and it's not too stupid expensive, I will buy it. Because I guess I'm not getting it from Rock Auto. I'll be getting it from O'Reilly or AutoZone or wherever I end up going. But the engine is officially off on this side, or at least, you know, free. Oh, hey, look, broken glass from one of the windshields. This thing's had like 4 windshields, so, you know. Alright, so I got the idler and the tensioner off, and I'm going to show you this. Yeah? Okay, that one's not good, is it? How about the idler? Think that's any better? Let's see if I can do this. Can you guys hear it? Kind of. It's harder to... I promise you it grinds and makes noise. Maybe you heard that, maybe you didn't. It's not good. So, those are junk. Glad we're replacing those. That's a Dayco tensioner. Apparently that's OEM. Dayco is OEM. See that right there? The more you know. Alright, time to get that harmonic off. I got the 15mm bolt off of there, and I've got my 3.3, 3.8 harmonic balancer remover tool. It's just a chicken feet puller that I've got set up specifically for this. And I know it's got specifically for this because it's got a 15 millimeter socket on the end of it there, out of probably the first whole socket set I ever got, which is kind of cool actually. That's permanently on there because it fits perfectly within the outer diameter of the hole for the harmonic there. And so it's set up here. I'm just gonna go at this with a wrench and it should just back right off. I did put a little bit of PB on the end there. Shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. Yeah, that crank seal's good. Don't need to replace that at all. No, not at all. Definitely a leaker there. So, looking good. It looks like we just got the AC, the alternator, I think the power steering up there, and then I do think I gotta try to get that pulley out of there, and it should clear to get the bracket out. Look at the space showing up there. I got the front accessories off. The AC is disconnected. It's kind of resting. It's away from the cover. It's resting on that wood block, and then the kind of in between there, out of the way. I got the battery unhooked, and I got the alternator pulled out. This is an O'Reilly unit that I put in 4 to 5 years ago, somewhere like 2022, 2021. One time when I was down in Illinois, I think this decoupler pulley kind of decided it was about done and started whining really bad. So I replaced it when I was down there, and it's been pretty good since. It hasn't had any issues. It's working just fine. So it's up out of the way. Next 2 or 3 things I got that cam sensor I'm going to undo just so when we're pulling the cover off we don't knock it on the gear or something. Alright, power steering pump. That is arguably probably the hardest thing you're going to get off. It's a 13 mil. You got to get a little 1/4 inch guy in there. You're able to get it out, but it's a pain. And then it's a really tight fit between here and the pulley, and it's got a metal hard line on the back of it. So I kind of just used it, and we've bent it to fit right now, and it's holding itself up. It's out of the way. Just something to note that's going to be a pain. It is a pain. Now I'm going to show you this water pump, which is what we're in here to chase. This pump was replaced by my dad 10 or 15 years ago, somewhere in that, area. Here's the bolt that he broke off and then drilled out. He's got a through bolt in there, kind of funny if you can see it. So our goal is to maybe make that better when we put it in, but observe water pump. Hear that? See that? Watch this. Something wrong. Something very wrong. I would say this pump is not good. Something is definitely bent though. Like, hopefully it's not the pulley, but one of the fins on the pump maybe. I don't know. Something's not right here. I'll tell you that much. It's definitely wobbles, has a lot of play in it, and it doesn't. That is not a true spin there. So hopefully there's nothing funny about this pulley. I guess we'll find out, right? So you're able to get a screwdriver kind of wedged in here, and then you can just crack the bolts off one by one. We should be able to kind of twist that and get it to where we can get this out. You can, but so and we might have to lower the engine down a little bit and up and something along those lines anyway. But yeah, there she is. Last piece of the puzzle aside from the cover itself. Well, there she is. And to get it out, you have to have the pulley and the pump go out at the same time. So you unbolt these bolts, and then you slot it into here and kind of slide it in. And then you kind of move the pulley around until you get all the bolts out. I did get all of the hardware to come out. The one I had to heat up, the only one I had to heat up is the only original bolt left. And as you can see, it took threads with it. But this is all hardware my dad put in it. He had this double nutted for the bottom one. He's got wallered out right here. I dropped one of the nuts. That's gone. I don't know where it went, but when I spin this pump, and I don't know if I'll be able to do it on camera, all of a sudden the pulley is straight here, and you can watch the inner, like the impeller actually, and the shaft wobble. So I don't know if me prying to pop this off kind of move this bearing. You can feel this pump is shot. Regardless, this pump is shot. I don't know if I can show it here. But you guys saw it wobbling. This is wobbling. This seems straight now that if I hold it like this and I spin it, the pulley seems straight and the impeller is wobbling. So, yeah, I don't know. he did this water pump. He put a OEM pump on it. That's a Pentastar on there. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, that's an OEM pump. The more you know, I guess. I don't know. Whatever, it's out. So, ta-da. Now we just got to get that cover off of there. Just a bunch of 15 mil bolts, I believe, and it should just come off of there. We'll see how that chain is. And I think it's time to go get some stuff on order. And then we got to start soaking down, cleaning up everything, and I don't know, putting it back together, right? There it is. That's the timing cover. It is out. Don't be like me and forget the heater core hose on the back side of this pump. So there she is. She's out. Now let's see something fun here. I think I already know what it's gonna be like, but you know. There's where she shows her miles right there. Now I'm gonna kind of put some tension on it clockwise here, and we'll see what it really is. But it shouldn't be loose on both sides. Yeah, that's due, I would say. So when I put clockwise tension on the belt, which by the way lifts up on this block because of where we have it set. Look, you got a little play here. That's excessive. So I did some very minor sketchy wiggling of the jack and the board, and I got it to where the board was not clipping the crank. And actually we were pretty close to number 1 TDC. I just had to go just a little ways. So we got an arrow here that points down, arrow here that points up. These two are in a line, we're good. There's a dot here on the crank sprocket, and there's a dot up there in the cam sprocket, and I believe it's starting at the dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, ending at the second dot. So you've got 10 links here. As long as you line those two up, that is that, and that is how you time that when putting a chain on your 3.3, 3.8 liter. Look at that. That's excessive. So, tensioned here fully. So we're all the way over here. That's at least an inch. That's at least an inch. That's excessive. Okay. So now you know what that looks like. We got to just take this bolt off right here. And that will slide off and allow us to take the chain off. And then you just slide it on with the new chain. Torque that down, and it's all good to go. This is the last piece right here that comes off of this engine before we start putting things back on it. Now, one thing we are going to also do is the oil pump, because I did buy one. Because this thing's got 300-something thousand miles on that oil pump. We're going to do it, and that should really, this engine should outlast this van. In theory, right? Well, there is everything that we needed to take off of the van. That is a lot of oil on all of this stuff. There's the new pump. There's the new oil pump. Alright, so we're starting off today with getting that O2 sensor out up top. I did commit. I bought the new one. This is a Bosch sensor. I believe that's OEM. Anyway, so what I did is, you know it's good. You got to get the bolt cutters out. And I cut the top off of it after cutting the wire off. That way I get a 7/8 socket on top of there. And hopefully we'll be able to get it with a breaker bar or something good. Otherwise, maybe the impact with a swivel socket or something. Might have to get in there and heat it up, but that's my goal, because that's the best way to do it. You got to get a full socket on these old O2 sensors. Those wrenches, and it doesn't cut it usually, especially if you're replacing it anyway. So I'm getting it out one way or another, right? That's the goal right there. That was easy. I put this breaker bar on there and the damn thing came right out. I don't think I've ever had one not. I didn't have to heat it up. I didn't have to nothing. That sensor came right out of there. So that was, yeah, right there. Same old, same old. And at least that job's done. That way we can get these valve covers all back on and not have to worry about access to it, you know. I think I'm even going to give the bottom one a shot while I'm in the mood of O2 sensors, right? You know, just get them both done. Well, same thing with number 2. It spun right out. There's what she looks like. Get that one replaced real quick. Plug back in. Then that's the O2 sensor job done. Not bad. That went surprisingly easy. I cannot believe that, actually. Well, I've been playing gasket scraper here for the last half hour or so. You know, got all the junk off of the surfaces. You know, as you can see down there, it's pretty clean. I've been kind of just starting to scrape some of the loose stuff off around the edges. As you can see here, this is kind of a tip here. Before you start scraping anything around there, put a cover on, then you can kind of pull that all out and not get stuff dropped down into the engine. At least, you know, minimize it, right? So I'm going to get that pulled out of there. I'm going to put a fresh one down, and like my next step here is to hose everything down and like super clean, because then I'm going to come in with a brush and kind of brush, and then we'll rinse it off with some brake clean, kind of wipe it off, see what we got going. This engine is excessively greasy. Really, it needs a good pressure wash. Yeah, so, you know, but it's going to be what it's going to be. I suppose now that it won't leak oil, some of it will kind of dry up, evaporate, and kind of burn off. That's kind of my theory. Other than that, if you look here, that rusty old manifold cover that was barely hanging on, I ripped that off. I ended up having to take this bolt out and this bolt out to get what's left of the cover off. As you can see, our broken stud is still in there. I was debating pulling the whole manifold off, and I was like, you know, it's not leaking. I'm just going to leave it alone. We can always do this after we can access it. Not a big deal. I dropped this bolt. It's down there somewhere. I cannot find it. So I threw in a different manifold bolt. This is off of the Wood Grain 94 Town & Country. It was in the bag of bolts I still have from that. That's one of the manifold bolts there. So, all right, well, I've got everything cleaned up about as well as I'm going to get it. It's obviously still got oil in places where it probably shouldn't, but it's better. We got a lot of the sludge off. Gasket surfaces are good, ready to accept covers and whatnot. I think right now I'm going to get the timing chain and stuff out, get that all installed, get that ready. That way the engine is good to go as far as that goes. And then it's just going to be me inside the garage scrubbing up these valve covers, scrubbing up this timing cover, scrubbing up every little piece, getting all the oil off, all that stuff. Alright, timing chain is installed. I still got to torque this guy to spec yet, but this is the new C388 Cloy's timing chain. That's what I throw in everything. That is the chain you get. It is an upgraded. It's what the double roller. I think you can. The chain is a lot more flexible. It does the thing it should. It's a thicker, more sturdier design. And the engine is in time. We've got our arrow pointed down, our arrow pointed up. We've got our dot here, and our dot here, as you can see, it's got 2 black links. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, including the links, 8 in between. We are in time. I tension the belt just a little bit going clockwise, as you can see. Tensioned. Look how much play this has got in it. That's it. That is not an inch, I'll tell you that much. So, that ought to help some. And like I said, I think I've said this before. I'm pretty sure I've heard that chain slap around. Like, I could hear it at some points where it click, click, click. Where the old chain would just kind of slap around, you know? I don't know if it was hitting the case or just sloppy or you know what. Doesn't matter. As you can see, it's installed, it's upgraded. That is going to last the life of this engine, and this engine should last quite a while. It looks clean. Yeah, honestly, it looks good. Everything looks decent on the engine itself. So, definitely a necessary job. So, I'm looking for torque specs here, and I'm looking in this Town & Country 2003 to 07 Haynes repair manual. I actually don't have a factory service manual for any of the 4th gens, and I literally don't work on them so much to the point where I just took the plastic off of this book itself. I had it on the shelf, I just never needed it. So what I'm looking for is this cam sprocket bolt torque, and that is 40 foot-pounds. And I believe it's got all the idler sprockets, you know, exhaust manifold, intake manifold, oil cooler stuff, oil pump stuff, which we'll be doing, rocker arm stuff, timing chain cover bolts, valve cover bolts, water pump bolts, which apparently is in chapter 3. But this has got all of the stuff we need. I guess I can look at it's even got the specs for the oil pump, so I can probably check those when we pull that apart just to see, you know. But that's what I'm looking for here, so there's your torque specs if you need it. So a PCV on these 4th gen 3.3s and 3.8s isn't always a simple job. This is a plastic valve cover, and the PCV sits down in here like this, like so. And, well, I've got the 300,000 mile irremovable Excalibur sword PCV valve here. And while clearly I removed it, and it's gross and it's awful and disgusting, the gasket turns to like rock solid. Like this thing's got no flexibility in it hardly whatsoever. So what I ended up doing, as you can see, we didn't break. What happens is these can break if you're not careful. I didn't break it. It's dinged, it's dented, it's not broke. So what I did is I've got this little pick tool here, right? And I've been heating it up with this propane torch. And then I was digging in and I was digging out the gasket, see, to where I could slip the PCV out of it. And then I was able to hook the gasket, pull it out. So I just kept heating this up, digging in, pulling chunks out, and, you know, and then I took the screwdriver. Well, first I had the, you know, I was trying with the grips here, and I ripped the top off the PCV. I was trying so hard. And I was able to get in there with the screwdriver under the top here, and I was able to use that to help pry it out a little bit, loosen it up. And that's how we got it out. So there's still a sealing surface here. We should be good to go there to slot the new one in. I will do that after this valve cover is clean and a new gasket's applied. But yeah, that could be a little bit of a job right there. This was worse to do than the oxygen sensors were, funny enough. So I'm starting to pull the captive bolts and their seals out, and I'm looking at this valve cover gasket, and I'm like, holy crap, no wonder this thing leaks so bad. Look at it, it's literally broke. This is supposed to be plastic, and it's cracking and falling into pieces. So that's yeah, that's not supposed to do that. If we weren't clear about that. The other one's cracked too, right up front here where it's been leaking all over. Yeah, it's hard as a rock and it's just falling apart. So that'll do that, I suppose. Nice. Yeah, that's how you know she's good. All right, got the valve covers all cleaned up and back on. I got that PCV in. There were some words said, and there may have been some whacking that probably shouldn't have taken place for something going into a plastic valve cover, but sure, it's in. I don't care. It's done. That's a pain. That sucks. That job is awful. I'm sure there's some tutorials online for that. I didn't look any up. I just kind of winged it. So we got the valve covers all on. Everything's protected here. They actually looks really good. Next on the bench here is the timing cover. I've already pulled the front main seal out, and if I just show you guys this front main seal here, focus in and you just see how the whole thing is cracked and broke, and it's rock hard. Gee, I wonder why that was leaking oil. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's not supposed to be like that. Very good. So that's out. And what I'm going to start with here is pulling the oil pump out. I'm not going to lie, I've not done this before yet, but I figure this 7,000 mile engine is the perfect one to do it on. So it looks like a bunch of Torx bits here. We'll just pull this cover off. Apparently you're supposed to check for tolerances and clearances and stuff. I may or may not do that. I might just throw the new melling stuff in because, well, it's getting it regardless. But hey, maybe we will, because there's a booklet over here that kind of tells us some of this stuff. So if we look right here, those are the instructions. And then there's a bunch of tolerances you check, and that might look interesting to you, doesn't it? We got some funny business going on here. Well, I got these two bolts to crack loose. They're Torx T30s. And then I proceeded to strip the other three. They're tight. There's nothing I could have done. It's stripped the only thing I think is maybe I could have taken an impact drill to it. It'd probably been the play, honestly. What I ended up doing instead is I drilled the heads of the bolts out. Those three right there. Now you're like, oh, how are you going to get them out now? That looks pretty flush. Well, so the reason they didn't come out is because they're tight. So watch this. Now that there is no stress on these bolts, they just spin right out. Isn't that cool? So the only reason it's just because they were tight. It's not like the threads are stuck, and now that there's no tension on the threads, they just spin right out. So we're not in any hurt in shape at all. Just a matter of getting the cover off to get the bolts out. Now we just got to make sure we get all these metal shavings out of this cover and everything. Clean this out thoroughly. But the oil pump's out. Here's the gears. I mean, I don't know. I know what oil pumps do. So this kind of just rotates like this in this assembly. It's actually kind of sticky and stuck. So I had to I cleaned it up and it works. I mean, tight fit. It seems okay to me. I don't know. I don't really see any wear in it. I guess I'll get the feeler gauge out maybe. You can see a couple of grooves in the case though, right here. But nothing I can feel. Like, it feels fine. So, you know, really, I think this pump was fine. I don't really see a couple of grooves in the case down here. Might be able to feel that one with a fingernail. I can feel those in this case here. Yeah, should be all right. There. So you can see, the new pump comes with bolts, so this isn't a big deal. I think the worst case here is I'm cutting my glove here trying to get this last one out because he's kind of funny. Okay. Come on, out you go. There you go. Boom. Just like that, we're good to go. So yeah, I cleaned this cover off. I might get the feeler gauges out. I might check on those, and then we're just going to get that new pump installed. Probably after we clean this cover. Get everything cleaned up and good to go, and that'll be that, right? Alright, now what the Haynes manual itself doesn't tell you about is the plunger right here for the bypass valve, I believe. How to get that out. And I actually snagged a tip off of the Chrysler forums here. I ran a self-tapper into it, used the pliers, pulled this cap out, which pops the spring out, and then inside of here is this little plunger guy, and he came out just like that. I don't think it matters. I think this can rotate, but in the event that it does matter, it's like that. So, and I've got a new one in the milling kit there. I'm gonna, now, this is all gotta get flushed out, sprayed out, but I gotta finish drilling here for the water pump bolt that's, you know, off center. That's Dad's drilling, and then I think I can get that, if I can get that one to come out, I could probably put a bolt back in it and it'll be okay. We'll see, but yeah, we got a lot of cleaning work ahead of us. We got the whole oil pump apart anyway, so that is good news, I guess, right? Hey, look at this. Got it. A little bit of heat and a little bit of PB, and that bolt is coming free. All right, new oil pump gears are in. I got the plunger in here and its cap kind of tapped in. That should be good to go. I used a lot of assembly lube here and here, so one, it should prime, and two, it should be adequately lubed up. Now I'm just going to get the cover on there and tighten down. I don't have the torque spec on hand, but I will torque it to spec. And then we should be really pretty much good to get this cover put back on to the engine itself. I might tap the water pump bolt threads before I do that. Quick, it's probably a smart idea. Otherwise, it's ready to go. And just like that, the timing cover is in. The biggest struggle here is making sure that your oil pump is aligned with the crank beforehand, especially when you can't rotate the crank because we have it on a wood block like that. So that was the struggle there. And the other struggle is you have to feed the rubber heater core tube onto the back of the water pump housing as you push the cover on, which I have done. Now just do not forget to put the clamp back over it, which I'm going to do. I have all the bolts for the cover in and just snug. Definitely have to go in and torque them all down to spec, whatever it is in the book. I got the new crank seal in place there, so she's good to go there. And we're ready to get the water pump on next and everything there, and then it's just all the accessories. Get the motor mount back up, then we can get the block out, and then we can do the oil pan and everything along those lines. It's just gonna start going together a lot better. That was the biggest piece right there. And it's on. And the gasket I glued to the back of the timing cover. I did not glue it to the block. So it's all good to go there. Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all. As soon as we start buttoning some of this stuff up, then we can plop the intake on too, get the motor sealed up from up top. Looks pretty good otherwise. Not too bad. I could have wished the cover came a little cleaner, but there's a time sink to it, you know, and I got all the stuff off, and it looks a lot better. That's what we'll go with. Remember, it's still got 300 and something thousand miles, right? We're out here in the shed here, and I'm next to Blueberry, the 91. And here is the 3.3 liter that came with the transmission we put in Blueberry. And what I'm out here doing is, well, I'm finding water pump bolts. And I managed to get all 5 pump bolts out of there. And I'm looking at this pump here, right? This pump looks pretty fresh, you want my opinion, right? And it feels good. The bearing feels nice. No play in it, all greased up. It moves free. That's a good pump. But yeah, I got 5 bolts out of it, no problem. They all came right out. Didn't even have to heat it. I brought the heat torch just in case, but I didn't have to use it. Came out just fine. So I got 5 bolts for the 05, and well, we got a good pump for later, I think, whatever this goes into, right? All right, got the pump all up in there with 5 correct bolts, even where we had that through bolt there. Dad left me enough threads there I could save it. Then I got the pulley on there, and I got these snug. I don't have them tight. As you can see, we got a pulley that spins properly. Water pump feels good. There's no wobbly in the pump. So that is what we got in there to do, and we have completed the water pump job. So now it's just to get all the other junk back on it. Long time no see, as you can see. It's pretty well dark out. Well, it is. I've been pretty well busy with these accessories here. As you can see, the first thing I did is I bolted up the power steering pump since the last time you guys were here. And then I went down and I did the AC, and then I did the alternator, and then I've got the tensioner, and I put this bracket, like the motor mount bracket on, got the idler on. I put the EGR on, got that all hooked up, got this wiring all done. I got the wiring thrown up through here, got that new upper O2 sensor plugged in as well as the AC. So that's all routed. Everything's tightened down good. Swing up under here. As you can see, I got the harmonic on there, and I got that run in. So what I usually do with these is I kind of set the pulley on to the crank, and I whack it a couple times dead center with a rubber mallet, get it started, and then you take the crank bolt without that big washer, and you have to hit it on hard enough so you catch some threads, and then you pull it in a little bit with the just the crank bolt, and then you back it out, put the big washer on, gives you a little more surface area there, and then you just I just run it on by hand. They go on super easy. You don't need the tool or anything, at least I don't. But and then I got the belt just put on now. New tensioner and everything's up there. That makes that really easy to do. And the belt's on, it's good to go. So all of our accessories are done. Now, I probably want to finish up the night here with getting that motor mount up here back in place, because then I can pull the jack out and that wood block, and the motor is secure, it ain't going anywhere. And I'm probably going to come in and just cover this all up with something quick, paper towel or whatever, rag, just to kind of keep debris off of it. But then that way the motor's in place. Come in and we can finish up this intake and the oil pan, which requires some more scraping of oil and cleaning. But all the accessories are done. This front end of the motor is done, which is perfect stopping place, I think. So this should be pretty good. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And, well, hopefully tomorrow. I'll see you guys next time we're working here, and hopefully we can get something done. Kind of just peeking down here, just taking a look at our valves. Don't have any like junk down there or anything. How's that one look? You guys should do it. You guys are doing the viewing for me. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Nice. All right, getting ready to put the oil pan on. I got it all cleaned up, got the surface cleaned up, got a little bit of gray RTV on all 4 corners where the block surface meets the 2 covers. And I'm just going to slot that valve cover or oil pan up there with the new gasket and tighten all the bolts down. She should be good to go. All right, so if you take a look down here, we got a few new parts on. That oil pan is up there and looking pretty. Even got the cooler hose on. Get that all tightened down, new O-ring and everything. Got the inspection cover up there. Look how nice and clean that oil pan is. Got ourselves an oil filter up there. It's miles and dated. I think it was like 326,500. I just guesstimated because the battery's unhooked. Brand new gasket. All the bolts torqued to 106 foot-pounds. Oil filter's on hand tight. Everything else is nice and tight. I pre-filled the oil filter, let all the air drain out of it, or bubble out of it, filled it back up. And then there's 5 quarts of Valvoline 10W30 Restore and Protect. At least, I think I bought 1030. So that's all in there, good to go. What that leaves us with is the intake. I think there's a couple things I'm going to tidy up here. I think I bought a splash shield for this a long time ago. So I think I'm going to go try find that and see if I can get that on there. And then I think I'll get the tire on here, get all that taken care of, get this thing put on the ground. That way we can work solely at this intake, which pretty much what I got to do is clean the intake. It is gooped up full of oil. Get it slapped on there, and that'll be that. Been hard at work today getting the lower intake plenum all cleaned. I got all the fuel injector harness and rail out of it. Got all the gasket surfaces scrubbed and cleaned up. There was some significant corrosion up under the center bits there. That's all been cleaned and smoothed out. This is all clean, ready to go back into the vehicle. Over here, I got this all cleaned up. Got the gasket here. I've got the 4 corners siliconed RTV'd, ultra gray RTV, and then the 4 cooling jackets on the head. Got those RTV'd. I'm also going to RTV the gasket or the intake plenum side just because of how it is, and we don't want water getting to where it should not be. Otherwise, I'm getting ready to pop this on, get this screwed in, and then that's going to drop right in there. Tighten all the intake bolts up. That should be good to go. Now we just got to clean up this plenum. I already got all the rubber O-rings and stuff out of it. Yada, yada, yada. Got to get the fuel harness cleaned up, or the fuel injector harness and rail cleaned up. Get the new O-rings on there. Get these back in. Probably clean these up. These will look nicer, all nice and neon and not what they are. Making good progress today. Should hopefully have it running tonight, in theory. Lower intake is all on. As you can see, we've got some RTV there showing around the coolant jackets. Got all of the lower intake bolts torqued first to 105 inch-pounds evenly, and then I went around, torqued them to 204 inch-pounds evenly, and then I double-checked them, had to do the center ones a little more, and they should be all good. That is good to go. All right, we got the fuel rail on, all new injectors, or O-rings and stuff. So that should be good to go. Got the fuel rail harness hooked up. I got a couple miscellaneous plugs plugged in. And I think where I'm at right now is I want to see, 1, if we have any fuel leaks, so we got to prime the system. And 2, before we start hooking up the coil pack and the wires and stuff, let's see if we can build some oil pressure. Just because we replaced the pump and everything, it's probably a good idea to do that first. So let's hook that battery up, put you on the tripod here. Actually, no, I want you to see the oil light. So we'll check for leaks here in a second, but let's see if this thing will crank over. There's the oil light right there. Come on, you can do it. Oh, I hear the lifters pumping up. Because you see the way it cranking changed. Prime it a few times just to prime the fuel system. Yeah, see it's cranking better. There she goes. You can see how it cranks better now that the lifters are pumped up. There's a check engine light. All right, the oil pressure bleed off. Immediately, good to go. All right, so she's good. Got oil pressure. Let's see if we got any fuel leaks. Looks dry there. Looks dry there. Looks dry there. I think it looks dry there. I'll have to get a flashlight in behind on these two. Looks dry there. And I still got to put the little clips on there, I just noticed, and it looks dry there. So we're all good with fuel, and we're good with oil pressure. So we got that pump to prime, got oil going through all the bearings and in the lifters. Should be ready to just fire right up here once we get the intake on, throttle body cleaned up, coil pack hooked up. And then we got to fill it with coolant, and then that's it, I think. Sounded pretty good to me. Side quest, I just cleaned up this quarter. We're going to fix that rust. It's all gone. No rust. It's all gone. Ta-da. All right, that certainly looks better. I also touched up the rockers on both sides because they were rock chipping. Yep. And then also this door seam right here because it's just all chipped up, the paint is. So definitely some improvements. Just get some paint over something to keep it from rusting. We'll have to revisit in the fall or when the van's clean, maybe. But just something to throw on there, just to make it look a little better, right? Yeah, it looks a lot better, actually. And look at that. Doesn't that look pretty? Not all absolutely caked in oil. You know, you can see the plastics. You can see everything. Obviously, it shows it's high mile. It doesn't look that pretty, but it looks a hell of a lot better. So we've got the upper intake plenum on. I've got the EGR tube on with new gasket. Got the coil pack up in there. The plug wires all hooked back up, kind of wiped down. Got the power steering reservoir kind of cleaned up a little bit and then reinstalled and tightened down. What else did we do? We did a few things along those lines. You know, it's all on there. It's all nice and clean. It looks good. Oh, I had to take the one lower intake bolt back out to get that, see that metal bracket there that the injector harness clips onto. I had to take that bolt out, tighten that back down. Otherwise, I filled up the cooling system. As you can see, it might need a little top off. I was able to recover the stuff we drained out of this, ran it through a funnel or a filter, and threw it back in. Need just a little more to top off. So all we got left is the throttle body and the air intake and the new air filter. And right here, you remember that throttle body? Look at that. All nice and cleaned up. Got all of that gunk out of there. 326,000 miles of junk. I took the IAC out, cleaned that up, put 2 new O-rings on that. She is good to go. Brand new gasket right there. Get that thing bolted down. Get the intake on here. Let's get this van fired up for the first time. And I think it's sat here for 2 or so weeks. 3 maybe. I don't. You guys will know the timestamps better than I will. But I'm ready to hear this thing run again with a new timing chain, a new oil pump, you know, fresh oil, you know, cleaned up, you know, intake air system, brand new O2 sensors, so hopefully no check engine light anymore, you know, brand new water pump, new pulleys. This thing should be nice, quiet, and hopefully it runs a lot better. You know, a nice tight timing chain, you know, a nice clean air intake system, brand new air filter. Should run a little smoother, should run a little better. You know, ultimately, it's very much improved. This 3.3 here, this van, this drivetrain here is 100% the most neglected drivetrain that I have, and that is all my fault. I kind of just let it be. Well, here's the thing. The van was falling apart. This poor van was falling apart. It was rotten. There was no rockers left. The quarters were gone. I mean, look at it now. We got all that work done. The doors were all rusted halfway up the... Look, I mean, look at it. So we did all that work. You know, new rack and pinion, tires, you know, new hubcaps, various, you know, fender, hood, all kinds of good stuff. New interior. I even put an entire interior in this van. New headliner, new seats, new carpet, everything. It's, you know, it's had a new steering wheel. It's had everything. Finally, I've gotten to this engine and got this 326,000 mile engine that's never been out of the vehicle, never been out of this van, up to snuff again. Now all that's left, well, and I mean, it still goes forward. That transmission's got no reverse, and it hasn't had reverse as long as we've owned it, as long as it's been in the family, since 2009. And yeah, so here we are. Here we are today. So eventually, maybe that thing will get replaced. But hey, as long as it keeps going forward, I'm not going to worry too much about it, right? All right, let's get this thing buttoned up. Let's get this thing fired up. Let's see if she'll run. Let's see how she runs. Let's take it for a cruise. And then I think I'm going to drive it for a couple of days. Just make sure she's good. Shake it down. Then we're going to get this old girl cleaned up and parked for the summer. That way we can bring home, you know, Turnip's friend gray van and then potentially blue van. You know, enjoy some of the older rigs for the summer while we have them and we have the weather. And then this old girl will come back out next fall, get some fresh fluid film undercoating, a little touch up, whatever needs done, and she'll be ready again for the winter. And there we are, just like that. Intake is on. I think there's one thing I forgot just as I started recording. The mass airflow sensor right here. Don't forget about him. Boom. And that was it. That was the last piece, aside from maybe the rad cap. But it's time to see. Will, old van, my newest van, the 2005 Chrysler Town & Country with 326,000 original miles, run and drive again after we just did major engine work, a complete resale minus the rear main. Shouldn't have said that out loud. And a new timing kit, new water pump, all new gaskets everywhere. Hook the battery up. Let's see what we can do. Get that tightened down. Oh, I even grabbed the right wrench on the first try. Wow. Really tighten this up too. I was talking about a battery hold down, wasn't I? Maybe that's something I should still go look for. But we don't need that where we're going right now. We do need maybe a little fresh spray of some battery Protecto juice. And just like that, fire this thing up. Come on, girl. Should fire right up. We got oil pressure. We tested that. Got oil pressure. And there she is. She's idling, just like that. Sounds good. It's running on 6. I think the computer's going to try to learn where it's at, figure everything out. Belt's riding okay. Sounds nice and quiet. We'll start burning off some of this oil and fluids and stuff. I don't see any major leaks. Well, it seems good. Spinning good as ever. That water pump pulley, look, can we see that from here? Sounds nice and quiet. Don't see any fuel leaks, looks nice and dry up there. Sounds good. Yeah, sounds pretty good, I think. Sucking out some coolant. Sounds good to me. Pretty responsive too, that was nice. Alright, let's let this thing warm up. Let's let it get up to temp. Let the thermostat open. And then we'll take this whole thing down the road. Oh my god, that scared the shit out of me. Loose or something. The missing bolt. The missing bolt, that's where that went. That was the missing exhaust manifold bolt I could not find. Well, it was in there. Well, that answers that question, I guess. gets up and go. I mean, honestly, I think there's an improvement there. I think there's a very good improvement in the response time on the throttle, as well as, I mean, it feels like she's got power behind her. You know, it feels good. Yeah, I mean, we're cruising 65 right now. Speed limit is most certainly 65 on this road. Nice. Definitely burning off some oil and stuff now. Ooh, looks good to me. Nice and hot, not overpressured. No leaking around here. Sounds nice and clean, no bangs. Compressor's kicking on and off, you can hear that. No drips down here, looks dry. Everything looks good. I think we done good. Hell yeah.